let us dive into this little story. Last time we saw Vincent, you and the rest of the Lights gang had been ambushed at a motel by a group of paramilitary agents led by Aegis. You had managed to defeat them and then managed to return home. And the reason why you were at this motel to be attacked by these agents was because you got into a tiff with your, well, I don't want to say your boss, but the leader of your clan in Chicago, Allegra Giovanni, the primogen of the Giovanni clan. So for those of you going, why is there a primogen of the Giovanni clan in Chicago? Well, the backstory to this is that in the late 20s, the Giovanni took over the city, wresting it from the hands of the Camarilla, and were in power for a little over a decade, at which point Allegra Giovanni made a deal with the Camarilla to help unseat Federico Giovanni, who was the leader of the Giovanni clan in the city, and give it back to the Camarilla in exchange for some power and some recognition, which is how he got a primogen seat. Now, of course, none of this would have happened if the family wasn't behind it, so people surmised that there was a reason why the Giovanni wanted this to happen, and I guess we've started to discover a little bit of why that is. Atius seems to have some sort of agenda, something going on. It's not too clear what happened, but the last time you met Atius, Vincent, you and him had a pretty big blow up, and it was clear that neither of you particularly liked each other. And to flex a little bit, as you were flying back from New York with the rest of the gang in the Giovanni jet, Atius had it detour and landed you in New Mexico somewhere and forced you to walk back home, basically. You arrived back in Chicago after certain delays to find that he had been summoned back to Venice. You didn't know if it was in relation to what had gone on with you. Your mentor in New York, Ludovica, had told you that there were things happening and to just sit tight and hold on. And it wasn't but a couple nights later that you eventually got a message saying, "We're heading to Venice. We leave in a few hours. Be ready." At which point you did what you had to do, got on a plane, met Ludovica in New York, and with her entourage, found yourself headed for Venice. What Ludovica has told you as you were heading for Venice is that there is a clan-wide family reunion that has been called. There are apparently a lot of things afoot. There are issues going on, one of which is Allegra Giovanni and what's been going on in Chicago. So she said that she doesn't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but that a lot of you have been summoned to this family reunion where you expect to be able to find more. One more note I think that's important to sort of bring up at this point is that one of the last things that Ludovica had told you in New York had revealed that you were not quite a Giovanni, but that you were in fact descendant from a bloodline originating with an original Cappadocian. And you had been gifted a scroll that had been passed down through a few generations that had been found in Constantinople over 1,000 years before by one of your vampiric ancestors, someone named Severa. And this scroll detailed something called the Path of Lilith. And you had been told to start studying that and to look into that. So you've haven't had a lot of time to kind of dive into it or look into it. But as you were flying, and I'm just doing this because it's a one-shot, so I want us to kind of get into the action right away. So I'm doing a bit of a lore dump here. Last bit is on the way to Venice. Ludovica basically told you that there was a sort of secret society within the Giovanni clan that you had heard about before, but didn't know too much of, called the Harbingers of Bones. And the Harbingers of Bones had decided to bring up certain matters with the rest of the family, and that this would certainly sort of have an impact on you and the others who were descendant in that bloodline that you're a part of. So she's being a little bit mysterious. You don't know too much exactly what all that's about, but you are told that all things will be made clear when you arrive. Questions before we start? All of them?
Yo, I'm just kind of taking in all the information at once. But hey, we're going to the old country. Somebody bring the cannolis.
You don't really know what's going on, and I kind of wanted that. I wanted you and your character to be a little bit kind of unsure what's happening, because all of this is moving really fast. All of this is kind of brand new to you. So that's part of, this reason why I didn't give you a huge lowdown, is I want you to kind of be a little bit unsure what's going on. So just embrace the feeling. Embrace the rainbow. Upon your arrival, you met a number of other people. One of the people there is Allegra Giovanni, who you remember from in Chicago, one of the elders of the Giovanni clan in Chicago, and kind of a friendly fellow. He was there waiting for you at the airport when you arrived, and he had with him a young woman by the name of Allegra?
Yes, Allegra Green.
So as the lot of you now find yourselves in a little, what are they called, gondolas, heading towards the meeting, I would like Vincent and then perhaps Allegra to give us a description of what would the others see as you are aboard this gondola with Ludovica and Luca and headed to this meeting.
I think when you see Vincent, he's got his dress shirt on, slacks, all black, because the family reunion of the Giovannis pretty much just going to a funeral, so he figured he best dress the part. But it's a little hot this close to the equator, and he's not quite too used to it, though. Having never set foot in the old country, this is quite interesting. Very, very nice, to say the least.
Definitely not Chicago.
Have you, as Vincent, been to Venice before?
No, he's never left America.
So you're taking it all in for the first time, so we'll get into that here momentarily. Allegra, as you sit in this gondola with Vincent and the others, what would Vincent see?
Yes, you see somebody who is dressed in business clothing. She's got a very nice blouse on and a beret. Usually she's wearing a white coat, as she is a scientist, but today she's on vacation, and she is definitely Italian, but she has also never been to Venice before, as she is a first generation born and raised in Chicago.
Excellent. Kentucky Fried Creature bought night moves for everyone, so you can all put a night move on your character sheet. Night moves can be used. You can spend a night move, for those of you who might be here for the first time, to either ignore a botch or to buy an automatic success. Thank you very much, creature, for the night moves. And every time you use it, you have to sing the Bob Seger song.
Night moves.
You are aboard this gondola, as I was saying, with Ludovica. Luca is there, a couple of bodyguards, very likely, and a ghoul that is pushing the boat along the canals of Venice. The night is very young. There's still the faintest hint of color in the furthest edges of the sky, but down here in the canals you are very well protected from the sun. You can hear music playing everywhere, people eating at restaurants, walking along the promenades where they can, but there are not a lot of other boats. There are not a lot of other gondolas on the water, as if the place has sort of been cleared for you. You are currently going along the Calle Dietro, and you are heading for a place called La Lanterna Pallida, the Pale Lantern. The Pale Lantern is a well-known Giovanni meeting place. It used to be an inn a long, long time ago, and it is used whenever the Giovannis need to meet with a sizable group of people. That is what they use it as. It's not like what you would expect. It's not the Giovanni meeting in the crypt kind of thing. It is a beautiful old Roman style inn, and couple of floors of it, and there's room for side meetings and all that. And of course, you have not been here before, Vincent, as we were saying. Has Allegra been here before?
No, she's never left Chicago.
It's also her first. All right. You are slowly gliding along the dark waters, and as I said, the only other boats that you see are other boats that are going the same direction as you. Assume other members of the clan. Each has a little lantern attached to the back of their boats, and the boats seem to be keeping kind of their distance. I would like, let's start with a couple of easy little rolls here, but I would like both Vincent and Allegra to give me a perception and occult roll.
Okie dokie.
Your target is going to be 6.
Thank you.
Perception, occult. Holy moly.
You said 6, right?
Yes, sir.
That would be 3 and a crit.
Oh.
2.
Okay. Both of you would definitely feel that there's something in the air. Ever since you arrived in Venice, you felt the presence of the other side. The veil is very thin here. Everywhere, corner of your eye, you've seen ghosts, you've seen revenants, things of that nature. You've clearly know and realize that that veil is very thin. And at first, you really just thought, oh, this is what Venice is like. Our people have been here for so long, and there's been so much of this kind of going on that it's just the way it is. But then at some point you overheard Ludovica and Luca talking about it a little bit, and both saying like that it was looking especially thin and translucent these days, and they seemed a little worried. So as you're going along the canal, both of you will see a number of little kind of spritish creatures almost that come gliding along the water and then along your boat, and they emit a certain amount of light, but you can clearly see that there's no shadows being cast by these lights. So it's clear that these are things that you're seeing from the other side that are kind of accompanying you. And as they kind of rush past you, and there's maybe 6 or 7 of these things, as they rush past you, you hear different little voices. Some are moaning, some are talking, some are singing, but there's like these little voices kind of hidden in each of these little lighted sort of balls, I guess, that kind of fly along and crisscross along the river and sort of go by you. And both Ludovica and Luca look at that and look at each other and arch an eyebrow. Would you like to do anything as you are gliding along and you see this?
Well, I suppose that explains one thing, Luca. I mean, when you've got this many reaches together, I imagine things are probably going to get a little bit thinner. I guess this probably is a good reason why there ain't too many of us in one too many towns, huh?
You ever hear the saying, don't shit where you eat?
Well, yeah, you don't ever want to do that.
Well, exactly. So that's kind of the thing here. This is our home. And so usually, you know, we keep the defenses up pretty good. This is kind of not what I would expect. It's very abnormal. It's not. It should not be. It should not be this way. This is. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's not good. I don't know what it is, but it's not good.
I'll bet you $20, right, and a bottle from back home that this is. I guarantee you, it's something to do with like Mercury rising or Venus is in fucking regression or some shit like that. You know, like I bet you money. I'm betting you money.
Very scientific. Very scientific.
That is not this guy.
Vincent is very well versed in the arts of the astronomy. He likes always to talk about how Mercury is in Gatorade and all that. But the last time we had a bet and you promised me a bottle from back home, it was a bottle of Malort. So I'm really not interested in having this kind of bet with you again, Vincent.
No. I wouldn't give you another bottle of Malort. That was more of a gag than anything. But you took it like a champ, and that's the important thing. No. I mean, I'll go to New York. I'll go visit the family vineyards, and then we'll get some of that, and we'll bring it back, and it'll be great. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah. Wine from New York.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful. It's got a little leaf on it and everything like that. Comes in a box.
I hope you understand that he is not representative of the entirety of back home.
No, but I do wonder, Miss Green. At least Vincent carries the family name with him. Why is it that you do not?
Well, my father wasn't Italian.
Yes, but the only family ties that matter are the ones that brought you here tonight. And
I never said I disagreed with that.
Mm-hmm. Don't you wish you had the name of the family to bolster your...
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of an opportunist. My dad was also in the field that I am in, and call it nepotism, I suppose.
Well, in some ways, our entire family is built on nepotism.
Well, then I guess I'm in the right clan, aren't I?
You look in the dictionary under the word nepotism, and there's a picture of Augustus Giovanni.
You notice how a family tree don't fork? Anyway,
well, it's a wreath.
Right.
A funeral wreath.
More like a bramble.
Me a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Ludovica at this point kind of chimes in, and Ludovica, Allegra, you've kind of sussed out is Vincent's mentor. At first, you might have thought she was his sire, and it became clear that she wasn't. But you get the feeling that there's a very strong connection between the two of them, and she leans in and says, "If the three of you are done talking nonsense, maybe we could try and focus a little bit and figure out what's going on. This is not good, as Luca mentioned. With everyone here in town, I would expect this place to be sewn up pretty tight, and right now we're seeing that it's quite the opposite. So if any of you have a couple of minutes to spare on this nice little gondola ride, maybe you might take a look and try to see if you can figure out what's going on. Talk to someone, someone on the other side maybe that could give you some answers. Now might be a good time to reach out and touch someone, as they say.
Normally when I reach out and touch someone, or call on an angel, as it was, it generally screws with my appearance. And even though we may own this city, I didn't think that was probably a good idea to do in public.
Well, I can tell you that right now it's probably safe to do that. We've made sure that the Calle Teatro is entirely cleared of people outside the family.
Fair enough.
Do we have a name? If I have a name, then I can summon somebody, but I can't really do that without knowing who I'm summoning.
You don't know anyone who's on the other side, then? Have you not had anyone die before that you were close to? Do you not have contacts on the other side? What kind of Giovanni are you, Miss Green?
I mean, I have... It's Dr. Green, thank you.
Not here, it's not.
Okay. I have my Nonna. She died. Kind of actually not too far from here, but I don't know if she would know anything.
Then I suggest that a lot of us take a moment here to talk to someone we trust and see if there's anything we can find out.
I think at this point, he reaches down under his shirt, and then he pulls out his necklace of several finger bones, and he goes, "Oh."
And he's from New York, so they're all like this finger, right?
Oh yeah, they're all the fucking middle finger. And he's just like, yeah, you'll do. Michael, come out to play. And he will attempt to pull him from beyond the veil by sucking on the finger bone. It's vile enough, and that dude was a little bit homophobic, so I'm sure that's enough to rile up his spirit.
I'm sure you'll love it. Go ahead and give me a perception plus occult, please.
Allegra is fascinated, taking notes and everything.
As you see him do this, his eyes flush out. It's just two black orbs, and his skin becomes kind of transparent. So
your target is going to be difficulty 7.
Ooh, 7. Okay, so 1 and 1 crit.
As you suck on the finger bone and intone Michael's name, Allegra, you see slowly emerging out of the water behind Vincent this ghostly hand that kind of grabs over the side of the boat and starts to pull himself. You can see that even in the translucent skin, you can see the old mafia tattoos, the Christian symbolism tattoos, all sort of, he's got this rosary that's tattooed around his hand, and then he's got La Familia, tattooed over his knuckles, and the whole 9 yards. And then the second hand pulls up, and you see this dark, fairly robust figure with slicked back hair and this long beard that's now kind of dripping with all sorts of beasties, little insects, all sorts of things kind of crawling through it. Would you fucking stop sucking on that bone, you fucking pervert?
No, I'm not gonna. Besides, you still owe me $20. Just because you died doesn't get you out of the deal. Anyway.
He pulls himself up and kind of sits into the gondola.
Introductions, of course. Mike.
Don't fucking care.
Mikey, everybody, Mikey. Anyway.
Jesus. Why is it always a fucking production with you?
Because we're from Queens? I don't know. So, we have some questions, and, Ludovica thinks that I should be the ones asking the questions, even though I am but the student. So, tell me, Mikey, what's going on over there on your side of the veil? How are things on your side of the tracks? Y'all seem to be bleeding over a bit.
You mean you don't know?
Well, no, I mean, if all it took me was sucking on the finger bone this time, normally it takes it, shoving it in places. But, this time you just came with that, so...
Well, maybe I was looking forward to seeing your face.
Oh, well, it's about time you warmed up to me.
I don't know if I'd call it warming up, but let's just say that I felt like maybe remembering exactly why I hate it would be good.
Well, you can answer the questions, and I promise we'll only ask you 3.
He suddenly looks over his shoulder, and you're like, what the fuck is a ghost? But he kind of looks over his shoulder. Go ahead, ask your questions.
1, what were you just looking at, bud?
Oh, nothing. There's just a lot going on over here right now.
2, what's going on over there?
Hard to tell. You, hey, did someone detonate a nuclear device or something where you are?
No, we haven't had one of those go off since I think World War II.
That's
Why?
funny. Well, because it seems like a lot's going on.
In what regard?
Oh, you don't seem to be aware of much. Are you a little bit, outside the picture?
Either you answer my questions or I'm sticking this finger where the sun don't shine. It's already lubed up. Take your pick.
Well, I'll tell you what, Vinny. You do what you think you gotta do. Because there's a lot of us here. And a fair number of us hate your guts. And we're fucking coming.
Well,
It's a brand new day.
You fucking coming for me? Finally. But either that or I can just ash this finger bone and release you to oblivion versus the veil, and you can enjoy nothingness for the entirety of all the evers. So take your pick, shithead.
He looks over his shoulder again.
Or not. I think Vincent actually reaches out to like try and grab his face or whatnot. It's like, look at me when I'm fucking talking to you.
And when you reach out to him, you feel a physicality. It's not a full-on physicality. It's kind of like very loose jello, but your fingers actually kind of grab something and you turn him around and your fingers kind of slip inside of him and he's like, you always wanted to be inside of me, eh?
Not like that. However, that's new.
Oh, there's a lot that's new, buddy. The shadow's coming. Y'all been fucking around with things for way too long, and now the rooster's coming home to fucking...
Rooster?
It's gonna be great.
You can't snuff the rooster, buddy. Anyway, so, how about you actually answer the question? What is going on over there? And more importantly, why do you feel like jello?
You know what, Vincent? It's not about what's going on over here. It's about what's going on over there. And I think you should be more worried about that because whatever just happened is huge and it's just torn a hole through everything. And right now, there's something here. Something kind of big, and it's kind of amassing everyone, and, well, I guess you're going to find out soon enough. But he looks over his shoulder again. I got to go. So you do what you got to do with that finger bone. I don't think it's going to matter too much. And I'll see you in a while, buddy. And I'll give your best to Sarah. And with that, he fades away like wisps of smoke floating off along the canal until he disappears completely.
Well, that was interesting.
I need to find the first pot of acid or vial of acid. You got any laying around on you? You're a doctor. You look kind of sciencey.
I mean, yes, but it requires a lot of paperwork. Quick question.
Yeah.
Why are they all like that?
Are they all like what?
Assholes?
Well, I mean, they're a bunch of fucking mob guys. Yeah, they're all assholes.
Oh.
No one is nice when you pull them back from essentially paradise. They don't like that.
Well, when the mafia is your control group, I can see where you'd come up with that.
Yeah, but the big thing about them is they're honest. So, like, you know, you don't have to worry about it. You know, they may come off as dickheads, but they're not going to lie to you.
Okay, that's totally reasonable and not at all full of fallacies or holes in the logic. It's fine. So, what did he mean? I don't know of any nuclear goings on of anything happening.
So, when something, well, catastrophic, for lack of a better term, happens, and there's a significant amount of loss of life, i.e., like a nuclear bomb going off. Hello, Craig from the NSA. We're just playing a game. When that goes off, a lot of death happens, and there's a massive influx that flows into the veil, and that is not always a good thing, nor can the veil always handle it, and it thins it out.
I don't know of any massive influx of death recently.
COVID kind of just happened, and a lot of people were running around willy-nilly and no one checking on them.
Right, but he didn't seem like he was talking about COVID. He seemed more nefarious than that, like he was talking about...
Time's irrelevant to them.
That is fair.
As you are saying this, Ludovica's eyes also return to normal, and she looks at Luca, and Luca's like, well, are we up Schitt's Creek without the paddle? And she says, I don't know yet, but we need to make a little detour. Take the next canal to the right. We got to stop somewhere before we go to this meeting. I need to figure out what's going on. And Ludovica will kind of move up a little bit and kind of lean towards you, Kurt. And she'll say, something's happening. I don't know what exactly yet. We were told there was a possibility of something in the future happening. It wasn't supposed to be happening right now, but just keep your wits about you.
Like
You're
what?
about to see some strange stuff.
Now I'm gonna see some strange stuff? Are you shitting me? Ludo, why don't you just tell me what it is that you know? Better yet, why don't you tell me and the good doctor here what it is that you know?
I don't really know a lot. It's the Harbingers of Skulls.
Oh, well, fuck me sideways and don't bother using a sandpaper condom. Those things are a myth. They're not real. Those are a myth. That's like saying, oh, we're going to go visit the boogeyman. Like that, the boogeyman isn't real.
Yeah, you know people think vampires are a myth too, right?
We fabricated that, though. There's a difference.
Yeah, well, I think we're about to find out whether or not it's true.
I didn't plan on actually getting eaten today, but thanks for the heads up, boss. I appreciate that.
As that is going on, Calogero, you are sitting on the steps of a very small church, Sangre del Cristo, and you are sitting right near the canal, and you see coming towards you a gondola, and it's the gondola you've been waiting for. And as they're coming, you feel something, and you know that it's just happened. You know it's just happened. It's happening right now as you speak. Finally, after years of waiting for this moment, you know it's happening, but you also know that it's going to be important to have as many allies as possible in the coming weeks and months. And in that boat coming up are a number of very powerful ones, Ludovica and Luca. There's a couple of other younger ones with them. They're not that important, but the other two are. And as they approach, what would you like to do?
Thin, gaunt figure stands, hands firmly inside of monkish-like robes, a little bit outdated, but still there, and toe right up to the edge, awaiting the gondola.
Well. I guess we are about to get some answers, or maybe just even more questions. Ludovica stands up in the gondola. It's been many years. Perhaps not enough, but many nonetheless.
Benvenuta in Venice, Ludovica.
Are you responsible for this?
I called a meeting because there is reason to call it. There are certain things you should know before we go to the reunion.
She looks at Luca. Luca's like, well, it's not like we're gonna just rush in there not knowing what's going on. If Calogero here has something to tell us, I'm guessing we might want to listen. And Ludovica looks at both Allegra and Vincent and says, keep your ears open and your eyes especially open.
Shall I escort you, or shall we take this vessel?
I assume you want to go to the Cantina del Primo Papa.
You know it well. Please, for everyone else, Calogero Marino at your service. Please, this way.
Ludovica climbs out, helps Luca out. What are two of you doing?
I think Vincent stands, and as more of an echo of his humanity, he reaches into the small of his back to double check that his pistol's there as like a comfort. Like, he knows that it doesn't actually, like, it's not going to do shit where they're going, but it's a comfort thing. It's just a whole, like, at the end of the day, it's a Nerf bat, but it's my Nerf bat, and it's something.
Allegra, she kind of, like, naively steps around Vincent and is going to go up to Ludovica and lean over and say, what are his credentials? Is he a man of science, or...
I think Vincent, like, reaches out and grabs Allegra's arm and kind of pulls her back and, like, I did mean this with the utmost respect when I say this, but we're still at the kiddie table compared to those two. We need to stay here and probably stay about 5 steps back and to the right, more than likely. Just a precursor.
And 5 steps ahead and to the left. The back turned to everyone, except when you stop and you talk to her. A slight ear cast in that direction. And then you can see the shoulders fall and raise rapidly. And then he continues.
As you are walking and you find yourselves heading down a series of very narrow passages between some of the houses and then through some of them. This area is very strange. First of all, you can clearly feel, again, the sort of thinness of the veil. You can see spirits kind of hovering around here and there. You hear, both of you, the voices of people you've lost, people you've known that have died. You hear faint echoes of them. imagine, if you will, being in the house and hearing someone you know in another room far away asking where you are, or mumbling to themselves or singing. That's what it feels like as you are moving through these various homes and down little hideaway corridors and little passages. You almost feel like you've gone back in time or traveled somewhere else. The facades of the buildings are old and crumbling, falling apart. Everything looks to be 1,000 years old, maybe more. And as you go down a final corridor, you see a set of stairs leading down. And as you walk down, you enter into this tunnel that is lit in blue, and you see crosses, various elements, very old, of Christian symbolism. As you're going down, Luca leans on and goes, I have not been here in some time. They call this the Cantina del Primo Papa, the cellar of the first pope. It is supposedly a tomb where the first true pope was buried a long time ago, before there was the first pope. It's a little hogwash, of course, but it is a place of some power still. I hope you are not easily swayed by Christian relics and Christian symbolism, as there's going to be quite a number of them down here.
Not at all.
We should continue this way, please, through, if you are all right of the spirit.
As you are walking, Kajiro, Ludovica is looking at you from the side of her eyes. I thought we were supposed to talk about this. I thought it was supposed to be a convening of people, discussion, a planning session, figuring out what the best way to go about this was. What exactly have you done?
Nothing that is to be unexpected from me. I wish you to be prepared before we go in. Again, Giovanni has done some things. We want to make sure that we are all safe.
Are we, though?
Never. But this is a very subjective phrasing. This is why we must talk, so that we are all on the same page.
Ludovica will look over her shoulder at you, Vincent, and say, you thought the Harbingers of Skulls were a myth? Well, here's one. Does he seem mythical to you?
It is a pleasure to make our reacquaintance.
Vincent, for one of the first times in both life and unlife, has an actual sense of fear and physically takes a step back.
This is fascinating.
You keep thinking it's fascinating. Pretty soon you'll be gonna be dinner.
No.
They eat people, and I don't mean the living kind.
I am aware of the stories. This is so remarkable. I've never seen one in real life before.
Careful. The animal in the zoo, when let free, will often bite. We are not to be dismissed as a mere observing tool for those who play with such things.
No. I apologize. I'm a creature of science. This is not an observation as in gawking or mocking. This is pure admiration, truly.
The science cannot explain so many different things. Why have faith in something that is so weak?
I would say the same thing about all of this, but...
Everything is of the faith. But it is up to you to choose which one you will ride to the grave, I suppose. Please, just a little bit more through this hallway.
I grab Vincent's shoulders. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. Fascinating. I think like Vincent again, like unconsciously reaches for the gun in his back just to make sure that it's still there. This is the harbingers are the things of nightmares. They're called harbingers, the definition for a reason.
As you travel down further into this catacomb, Ludovica, again up front with you, will say, who else is here? The Samdi?
Invitations go out when they are needed.
Christ, it's really happening, isn't it?
He stops for a moment, takes a breath, a useless breath of this crypt air, dead, still, moldy, turns, and out of the corner of her robe, glances at her. Things are happening, and the weakness has been shown. Destruction will always be a part of our life. But shall we say that death will come to us all? And sometimes we need to bring it about precipitously.
I thought we were very clear that this was not to be an invitation to slaughter.
No. Not an invitation to slaughter. An invitation to survive. Please, we can talk more. He stands off to the side and gestures down the hall with a free hand.
You all will walk into this, what looks like an old, very old, abandoned chapel. The pews are carved out of the rock itself, and as you can see, as you enter this room, this was probably at some point the site of some sort of mass grave, as the walls, the ceilings, the floor, the pews, which are carved straight out of that rock, all have bones. You see the corner of a human skull, a femur, finger bones trapped, fossilized into this stone everywhere. You are in a veritable basilica of cadavers.
It is fresh and reminds us of life, does it not? Take a look around. Realize your own mortality.
I think Vincent very much looks at Ludo and is very much the whole, like, his facial expression is very much, are you fucking kidding me right now?
She gives you a kind of warning, like, just stay calm. I need to figure out a few things before I can know exactly what's happening. She'll turn to you again, Kalajiro, and say, can you at least tell me if what's been happening in the Middle East is connected to this? I've felt the calling. Many have. I'm sure you have also. Is this all related, or?
Yes, in a way. It has come a time of recognition, of evolution. Even we of the dead must evolve, otherwise we do not survive. Turning sharply towards the doctor, evolution is of the sciences. Certainly you can understand that if you stay still, you do not grow. If you do not grow, you do not survive. Always there is something bigger and better than you. You understand? The times from you come from the Americas, yes?
Yes.
The times, they are changing, as you would say. And so we must also change. Every single last one of us, from the ancient to the... He takes perhaps 2 steps and comes within spitting distance of Vincent. To the new. You smell new. He walks back, turns around, and continues leading.
You smell new. Hey,
Not
at
that
least
new.
it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, that's like, like staring at a bear in the face and just like it deciding to go, nah, you're not worth it, and walk off. This is wonderful. This is exactly how I wanted my first time in Venice to be. Fucking Christ.
Oh, no. He turns back around, blocking passage with his body. I assure you, you are my host. And we will sup together tonight, no doubt. But in the meantime, I would not waste my words with worthless beings. Ludovica, you know this. I ask you all, please, understand that the time has come.
Before you dismiss Vincent too readily, Calogero, you should know that he's a direct descendant of the bloodline. The bloodline of Lazarus himself.
Lazarus, the reason one, please come. I would take part in this celebration, which no doubt we shall soon have. Then, as one who has figuratively risen from the grave, you understand then that we too cannot so immediately cast ourselves into it. We must live through it. This is what I am hoping for, but quickly. We are almost in a place where they will no longer be able to hear us. Come this way.
You move further in, and as you pass this little chapel that you were in, you enter a much bigger room. You appear to have come through the tunnel and are now into more of a man-made sort of basement area, which in Venice is something that is really not something that is very common. The place appears to be quite dry. You can see that it's it's masonry stone. There is a large table at the center of this room. There are electric lights that are around, placed around where perhaps there had been sconces at some point to hold torches. One row is entirely these ginormous barrels, wooden barrels, you figure, of wine or something. And perhaps a interesting little jest, someone has scratched, perhaps with a knife or a very sharp claw, into one of them the word Amontillado. When you enter this room, oh, sorry, were you going to say something, Calogero?
No, I am enjoying the environment.
As you enter the room, you see a number of people seated here. Ludovica takes a look at them. There are 3. And then she looks back at you, Vincent and Allegra, and says, wait here with Luca for a moment. Calogero will make introductions, and I will decide whether or not we are staying or going.
Before we introduce ourselves, I ask that you keep an open mind. Again, the time is changing. And things are no longer as they used to be. We must have an open mind when it comes to this, otherwise we will surely all perish. And yes, Ludovica, all these things are linked. Death has come to us all. We seek to move beyond it. And unfortunately, there are certain obstacles in your way. And yours. And you, the newborn. There are so many things here that you do not yet see. Yet you have the power to be able to see, but we can show you so much more. Yes, of course, but on your own time. I am asking for advancement. I am asking for intelligence. Turns to the doctor. I am asking for reason. The old ways must die.
I'll be the judge of that, Calogero. Now come along, introduce me to your friends here.
Please, come this way.
And as the two of them head on towards the table to meet the people who are there, Luca leans in and goes, I have to say, I've not been surprised by a family reunion in quite some time. This one kind of takes the cake.
I think this is a great opportunity.
A great opportunity to what? To get killed?
No, that's not what's happening here. You heard what he said.
You know,
the guy.
For someone who, for lack of a better term, kind of had their all their bodily fluids kind of drained and then replaced and brought back as an undead creature of the night, you're pretty optimistic about being in the company of monsters who are bigger and scarier than ourselves. Just pointing that out. Secondly, Luca, did he say Sandy?
Yeah, I believe so. He looks over at the table. Is like, it's difficult for me at this distance, and he takes off his glasses and he cleans them and he puts them back on. Difficult for me to tell who's who. I don't believe I've met any of these folk, but then again, I've been in a new country for quite some time now. There has been loose talk about those kindred who, like us, are well-versed in communications with the other side.
Well-versed, Luca. The Sandy practice fucking voodoo.
Yes, but some believe that there is a commonality to the practices, the powers.
That is exactly true. The spirits exist in any number of ways. Would you say, Vincent, that the spirit is only on your right side? Therefore, you would only ever talk to the spirits on your right?
I am not saying that in any capacity whatsoever.
Exactly.
But what I am saying is there are good ways of doing this and bad ways of doing this and really bad ways of doing this.
We have been cast out, please. We are not the beings of angels here. When we talk to the spirits, there are many different ways. They are on your left and on your right, in front and above and below. There are many different ways to address this. Clan Giovanni only ever understands strength. Therefore, they will only ever respond to strength. I agree. Peace is a beautiful thing. And peace should always be had. Nobody likes a stake through the heart or for their head to be left out in the sun. But the spirits are always to be addressed in many different ways. Clan Giovanni does not understand this, it would seem. They only prefer a single way under a single person. And yet, are we not all of the same blood? Do we not all have the same gifts?
Enough, Calogero, enough. I don't need you putting your poison in his brain.
Evolution is a such thing. There is no poison here. I merely offer the options and I tell you of the things that must happen. If you wish to talk with a bear, I overhear you say, do you sit down and then you have the tea with him? Do you have a coffee? Or do you get your weapon ready? Because the bear knows no other way. Neither does the Giovanni.
The problem, Calogero, is not what we seek to accomplish, but rather the method by which we accomplish it.
Exactly. And this is a means to an end. You talk about these things that you do not know, and therefore you fear. This is normal. Absolutely normal. And I encourage you to open your mind and to educate yourself. There is no harm in learning. You can always take it away with you, and then we chew on it just a little bit. In so doing, we can learn. At the clan of Giovanni, Augustus Giovanni, only understand one thing, and they will never advance. They will take whatever they need, and then they will.
Did you kill him? Did you kill Augustus Giovanni?
No, I would not kill Augustus Giovanni. Giovanni is always Giovanni.
leave us. I have to speak to these two.
I will introduce myself to them, and we will see you over there when you are ready.
She watches him go a little bit and then leads in. And Luca says, do you think they did it? I fucking think they did it. I think that's what your friend was referring to earlier. I think these fucking idiots killed Augustus Giovanni.
No, no, you can't. No.
That's been the plan for some while, Vincent, but the idea was not to...
If Uncle Augie was killed, we'd have all felt it.
I think that's what we've been feeling for the past night. I don't know.
Why?
We're gonna have to...
Like, to what end?
There's been, for some time, there's been dissatisfaction with a number of people in the clan. Mainly those who, like Vincent, myself, and you, Dr. Green, are not of Giovanni blood, but of Cappadocian blood. There are not a lot of us left. Very few. And fewer still almost each year. A while back, a few decades ago, there was a convocation of those few of us who remained. The name Harbingers of Bones was taken as the name of this convocation to hide its true purpose, its true nature. The idea was always to emancipate ourselves from the Giovanni clan, stand on our own 2 feet again. Descendants of Cappadocia's the last line. Descendants of Cappadocia's, descendants of Lazarus. There are some among us who thought that this could only be accomplished through violence, through the destruction of Augustus Giovanni of the Triumvirate. We were supposed to be talking about it.
Well, it looks like Uncle Festa over there decided to stop talking about it and did something about it. Not to mention, that's our progenitor. I mean, we may be the bloodline of Lazarus, but within the Giovanni, we can hide. And, I don't know, maybe not get eaten by Uncle Festa over there.
Or work together? Aren't we all kindred, after all? We all share the same unlife, so to speak.
That is why these three are here, and she points to the ones at the table.
We are all creatures of the night. There is no, I am not refuting that in the slightest.
Okay.
But what I am saying is we are also survival of the fittest. And we, being as few as we are better off as a Happy Meal to most of these fuckers than being in a place of power. Hiding within the Giovanni was the only way that our line could continue. What are we supposed to do now?
What Calogero and his cohorts have done, I think, is back us into a corner. There was talk, a lot of talk, there's always talk about what we should do. Your point, Vincent, the one you're making right now, was made over and over again.
Because it's smart.
And what they have done now is back us into a corner. If they have acted, if they have attacked the Triumvirate, attacked Augustus Giovanni, killed any of them, one, it would account for what's been happening with the Veil. Two, it would put us in a position of having to find allies and to fight or be destroyed.
But do we know for a fact that they killed Uncle Augie? Like, is it, do we know? Or is that just what they're saying? I mean, yeah, things have been a little odd, a little different or whatnot, but you can't just cut the head off the whole family and not have the family up in arms over it. Like, this is not making any goddamn sense.
Well, right now the Samdi are here.
Oh, more good news.
If it were only that, Vincent. You see that one there at the end of the table, and she points to a man. He looks kind of young. It's difficult to tell exactly if he's Asian or something else. It's very difficult to tell exactly what his human ancestry would be. He looks just unlike anyone or anything you've ever seen. And she says, if what I've been told is true, that kindred, whose name is Kalu, is a Nagaraja, a clan that has not been seen in this world for several decades. They were lost on the other side of the veil and recently found their way back, according to Kalu.
Well, that's great, isn't it? Isn't that the kind of progress we want to see?
You're not supposed to come back from across the veil like that.
Well, you're also not supposed to die and still walk the streets every night. There's a lot of things you're not supposed to do.
You're a woman of science, right? Right? You're a woman of science.
Yes.
Okay, then hear me out. Hear me out, right? I've watched the Learning Channel from time to time, right?
Excellent.
Okay, so for lack of a better term, our bloodline, right, are the Neanderthals. The rest of them are humans, Homo sapiens, right? They didn't intermingle, right? They killed us off. They killed off all the Neanderthals to promote genetic purity. What do you think is going to happen to us?
Can we...
Evolving? Are you shitting me? We're going to get killed.
But what if we're not?
The footsteps, barely touching the ground, make their way back over. You seem... I could tell from over there, and I smelled your state, your upset. And you are right. You, Vincent, are right. You are so correct. Survival of the fittest. I could not have said it better myself. And this is why we have come together. This is evolution. A disbanding of the old ways in favor of those that are stronger, that together serve a purpose, a united purpose.
The Samdi, the Nagaraja, the goddamn Lamia?
Yes. All return because the time is right. Do not forget that in your year 2028, a certain peace will come to be ended. Reparations must be made.
Listen, I get it. You're older and you're a little bit wiser, but there is one thing that I think the professor here will back me up on, right? Things die and go extinct for a reason.
Yes, they do.
We're not trying to play fucking Jurassic Park here, okay, and bring the dinos back. That's not what we're trying to fucking do.
You, child of Lazarus, talk about these things as if you do not know anything of them and that your head is empty. But I would remind you, and he says as he glides closer to you, I would remind you that your very existence is the resurrection of the soul after death. You yourself have risen. You dance upon your very own grave in time along with these other things. And just because you do not see something with your eyes for 1,000 years does not mean that it has ceased to exist. Do not see that sometimes a sleeping dragon is one that is ready to strike when the time is right. Please, I ask that you only have an open mind. You said the words yourself. Survival of the fittest.
I am keeping an open mind. However, I'm trying to keep an open mind that doesn't paint a target on me and mine. That's what I'm
Oh.
trying to figure out here.
You are not a target. Why would you be? If you were a target, I would have already hit that bullseye. What I am saying to you is that there are captains that are required. There are those that should take their place at the table. There are those that have earned that right. Turns his attention to Ludovica. Ludovica, you are also one such. This company, though foreign and odd, and dabbling in things that most do not care for, are not the ancient creatures of disbelief that children talk about in their nightmares. It is the year of today. We, in this modern age, still survive of the fittest. We have already succeeded. We have already succeeded.
They are carrion. They've come to feast on the body of the Giovanni clan, nothing more, nothing less.
And the Giovanni would have themselves lie down in the grave if they continue to follow Augustus. Again, they only understand the strength. What is the use of strength if you do not use it? How do you fight this with just words? I have existed for a long enough time to know that words do not always carry the meaning that others are willing to listen to.
All right, I've had enough of you, Calogero. If you and yours have decided to act without properly consulting everybody else and without the acquiescence of everybody else, then this will be on your head.
Oh, no doubt. It always is. Until the time that my head is separated from these shoulders, then we will continue to survive, just as we always have.
That time might be closer than you think.
I welcome it. I understand it very well, Ludovica. I dabble in matters of death. I am a constant source of resurrection here within myself, and I have no problem bringing the dead to those who need it. But again,
I think at this point, Vincent, with what courage he has, stands between Ludovica and Callow. Like, he's like, you're getting too close to the boss, and there's that primal of being raised in a mafia family, like, starts to kick in. Like, you're getting too close, buddy.
this is exactly what I am talking about. You did not talk. You took action. You wish to prevent violence by willing to engage in it. We are of the same mind.
Ludovica reaches up and puts a hand on your shoulder, Vincent. We're going to listen, Vincent. We're going to see what they have to say. If they've done what I think they've done, we may be backed in that corner. It may be too late to do differently. But I know you, Vincent. I know that you are someone who prizes action. I would only counsel you to be careful with this one's words. The Harbingers have promised one thing and now seem to have delivered a completely different one.
That's what I'm saying.
Do not be seduced too easily.
That's what I've been saying. Something's fucky. Something
Yes.
seriously fucky.
Luca leans into you, Dr. Green, and says, I don't suppose in your little bag there you would have a vaccine, perhaps, for what ails this poor individual.
Which one?
And he points at Calogero. Are you?
I'm sorry. Is he sick? Are you ill?
Oh no. Are you warming up to his ideas?
I certainly don't see why there needs to be any violence to explore the possibility of a better life for kindred.
It's not so much about a better life. It's simply about power in the end. It's always about power.
Well, call it what it is, power, survival, peace. It's to thrive, right? It's just a little bit different for everybody.
How was your belief in science challenged after you realized what you'd become, Doctor?
Well, I went to school for thanatology. I was very fascinated with the dead since my grandmother died. But when I realized I sort of cheated death, it became an opportunity. You die, and then you live, which is backwards. So it sort of caused me to flip my thinking on everything. Science can work the opposite direction.
Well,
If it exists in nature, science can describe it. You are a person of constant inquiry of the world around you. This is a hallmark of intelligence, to always have a critical thought. Turning to Vincent, just as you do. Your cautionary tales, Ludovica, are not without warrant. Of course, people get backed into corners when they do not listen for the warning signs. We have existed for a very long time. Just because you do not see us does not mean that we do not exist, and we wish to survive just as much as you. However, others would see us dead. What must we do when we are backed into a corner? But to fight back and take that which is rightfully ours. A life, a second life, a resurrection.
We will listen, Calogero. I will listen to what your friends have to say here, and I will make up my own mind.
That is wisdom. Please, and now make the introductions.
As a lot of you will move towards the table, you will be introduced to the person that Ludovica pointed out before, Kalu, the Nagaraja, sorry. She will also introduce you to this tall, dark, very laid-back looking man, introducing him as Pascal. She will say that he is of Clan Samdi. And finally at the table is a strange woman who is sort of hiding a little bit under a hood, very similar to Calogero. What you see inside the hood is very difficult to make out. It seems to be a very dark face painted with white around the lips and the eyes and the face. It's very difficult to make out her features, and very strangely, every time you turn to look at her, it appears as if she's screaming in anger, but then the second you look at her a little longer, her face reappears calm and serene as it was before, and she'll be introduced simply as Sylvia of Clan Lamia. Some of these might not mean much to your characters, but there's not going to be a lot of explanation. What will ensue for a little while is a discussion mostly with Ludovica, Calogero, and these three. It appears that these three are representatives of their clan, and that there is discussion of the three of them aligning with the Cappadocian into forming a new clan, a new sort of non-bloodline clan in order to protect themselves. The mention of something Calogero mentioned earlier of the peace ending is a treaty between the clan Giovanni and Camarilla, which is coming to an end very shortly. And so there will be a lot of discussion sort of back and forth around that. Luca will kind of fill you in as he goes along about some of the things they're talking about. And as the conversation continues, Luca will say that he very much fears that the Harbingers have already acted and done something, though it's not exactly clear if it's Augustus or something else. The discussion will carry on for a while, and what sort of really comes out of it to the two of you is that it seems to be a group of people discussing a fait accompli. So whereas Ludovica seems like she was coming here to discuss plans or discuss, what could happen, these people are talking as if whatever's happened has already happened, and now is the time to kind of like, you know, cross the I's and dot the T's and figure out exactly how this sort of might work. And you kind of feel like all of this is a little bit sort of above you, perhaps, or like beyond your scope. And so you're kind of hanging out a little bit with Luca and sort of seeing all of that occur in front of you. After a couple hours of this, the two of you will start noticing around you spirits start to appear. They are kind of gathering here and there, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. They're just these sort of white voids that are hovering around. You sense that they're not complete spirits. They're like emanations, perhaps, or the remains of spirits that have been partially destroyed, or you're not sure exactly what. They're not fully formed spirits. They're not ghosts or anything like that. And they seem to sort of be congregating around here. It doesn't seem to really worry the people at the table too much, who kind of cast them a glance and then continue with their discussions. But then at some point, you hear footsteps coming down one of the other corridors that you didn't come in, and you will see enter a woman and a man. The woman and Luca will lean down and say, "There's Chiara, one of the 3 leaders of the clan." The woman, as she swoops in, is wearing almost like a funeral shroud, a black dress with a black silken hood, and she has her eyes are covered with a black cloth that has diamonds hung on it. Along with her, and Luca will say, "That is her bodyguard, Dario." You will see a tall, elegant man with a long beard, long hair, dressed in a very fine suit, sort of coming in behind her. The one called Chiara, the 3 of you will know, there are 3 older Giovanni that are in charge of the day-to-day running of the clan. Augustus still exists, but there are 3 called the Triumvirate, and one of them is Chiara, another one is a woman named Vitara, and another one is a man named Romano. They are like the 3 kind of daily leaders. And Chiara sort of sweeps into the room. Ludovica sees her and immediately sort of goes forward, goes to her and sort of bows down and starts to have a conversation with her in a corner. Dario, who is a bodyguard, sort of moves in and kind of keeps an eye on everybody else in the room, making sure no one kind of approaches. Luca will lean into you and goes, "So perhaps all of this was false. If Chiara is here, perhaps the other of the Triumvirate also still live."
I just want to know what we are doing here. We've been standing here for about 2 hours, yeah, Vincent?
I know why we're here.
I believe it has something to do with your bloodline, Miss Green. Being relatively new, you may not know what Ludovica was speaking of earlier about the bloodline of Lazarus.
Yes, I'm aware, but what I mean is, if they're gonna include us, then include us.
I don't think they're very concerned with the rank and file at this moment, Miss Green. As you can see, in Chicago, I'm considered one of the elders, but here I don't even earn a place at the, the grown-ups table. I think the only thing we can do is wait for them to call upon us. And as he says that, you can see Chiara has moved past Ludovica and is coming towards you. Dario's following right with her. Ludovica seems a little bit kind of stunned, like, what the fuck, I was talking to you kind of thing. And she sort of trails behind. And Kiara comes up to the two of you, and she looks you very closely, and then she comes up to you, Vincent.
Like, Vincent immediately averts his gaze. He immediately is looking down at the floor.
You are Vincenzo.
That's correct.
Ludovica has told me a lot about you. She tells me that you have the scroll from the Book of Lilith.
I do.
Is it safe?
As ever.
Have you been studying it?
I have been studying what I can understand of it. Yes.
There are other parts of the book that are necessary to understanding the whole. Myself, when I found this one in Constantinople, could not make much sense of it for many years after. They tell me you are from Chicago.
I come by way of Chicago. I'm originally homed in New York.
What can you tell me of what Atias Giovanni has been up to in Chicago?
I think at that, like, his eyes immediately bolt up and he looks her directly in the face. To put it simply, no good. He prances around claiming to be a Giovanni, though he acts more like one of the goddamn Blue Bloods.
That is quite comical. Let me tell you about Atias Giovanni. Let me tell you about who he really is, or rather who he was. And let me tell you about what he is attempting to do in Chicago. He is after something that I encountered over 1,000 years ago in Constantinople. There was a number of us who were sent into a tomb to retrieve an artifact of some power by a knight called Santiago.
I've heard that name before.
Yes, I believe he is a rather high-ranking member of the Sabbat in North America now. The contents of the tomb that we raided there was a very, very ancient evil that resided in that tomb. Things became unclear afterwards. A Setite, follower of Set by the name of Anath, managed to escape with the contents of the tomb. Somehow, through the years, it managed to make its way all the way into North America, into Chicago, where it resides. And it is engaged in a rather long-standing feud with a number of people, including Santiago, myself, a number of others. I believe that Atias is convinced that this creature is either a descendant of or Cappadocius itself. I believe he's wrong, but he doesn't see it that way. He has been attempting to reach it, to find it, to ascertain its identity.
So why haven't you done something about it then?
Well, for one thing, we've had our hands fool here, dealing with a number of other things as she looks over her shoulder at Calogero. But it was the will of the elders of the clan that Atius be given leeway to pursue this.
He's not acting in the interest of the family.
To be honest, it is unclear whether or not that is what we were trying to ascertain by calling this family reunion and inviting him here. But one thing is certain. Whatever is under the city of Chicago is not Cappadocius, is not a descendant of Cappadocius. It's something entirely different. And we believe it would be better off if it stayed where it is. But that is a matter for another moment. We have to. And as she says that, you hear footsteps coming down the stairs again. And everybody kind of turns. This very kind of regular looking fellow comes in. He's wearing just a shirt, jeans, shoes. He comes in and he seems a little bit lost. Dario moves right away and he's right next to him, and everyone else kind of stands up, and Dario moves up to him and grabs him. He's like, "You lost, fella?" And he looks at him and goes, I think so. Is this the tomb of the first pope? And Ludovica's like, "Dario, get him out of here." And Dario grabs him and goes to turn him around, and the guy goes, I've brought them here. And as he says that, his mouth opens up in a silent scream, and you see pouring out of him, and as they do, you see his body slowly shrinking and desiccating, and you see pouring out of his mouth, being vomited by him, these ghosts, one after the other. These spirits just roll out of his mouth like thick smog, like thick fog, just sort of rolling out. And as they do, and as they tumble from his mouth, and his body goes, and he shrinks and becomes desiccated, these ghosts start to take form. And this is where we will take our break, ladies and gentlemen. And we will come back momentarily to find out exactly who are these ghosts and what they want. I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine.
I'm sure
We're
it's
all
fine.
Scientists here.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's gonna go exceedingly well. Welcome back to the land of the dead. You know, where there's a party every weekend. We are currently in a tomb somewhere under Venice, supposedly the tomb of the first pope ever. So who knows what that's all about. But after the Giovanni were convened to a family reunion, it seems that a group of them had other plans, and there's suspicion right now that either some of the triumvirate, the leadership of Giovanni, or maybe Augustus Giovanni himself, have been attacked and are perhaps killed. One of the members of the triumvirate is here, Chiara, and it's clear that there's something happening as the veil is thinning, and ghosts and spirits are appearing from left, right, and center and sort of pouring in, and Vincent has received a warning from the other side that something major is happening, a Shadow's Moon or something like that, and that there's something kind of going on, but we don't know exactly what that is. We've seen Calogero, his character, a member of the Harbingers of Bones, who has been trying to convince Vincent and the others that the path forward lies through violence and through showing strength to the Giovanni, so that the Cappadocian clan can sort of rise out of those ashes. Some of the other characters, Ludovica, Vincent's mentor, has been saying that it's not supposed to be. It was supposed to be done as peacefully as possible, and so on and so forth, but it's not very clear exactly what happens. We've also discovered that Chiara is Severa from the Dark Ages game, and that the Primogen, the Giovanni Primogenatius Giovanni in Chicago, is up to something, trying to contact whatever it is that's hiding under Chicago right now, that he thinks it is perhaps Cappadocius himself or a direct descendant of Cappadocius. But Kiara doesn't seem to think so. She seems to think it's something a little dark. And if you watch the Dark Ages game, you kind of have an idea what that is. If you watch this a bad game, you kind of fucking know what that is. But anyways, we're going to proceed here with this thing, as just before the break, a sort of Trojan horse filled with spirits and ghosts had wandered into the meeting and started vomiting forth all these undead. Before we get to it, I do want to say that we continue this little series of one-shots next week with Anathema, which will feature Miko's character from the Carternomics one-shot. The Sabado had helped Carter find Teddy and the others before, and who oversaw the rules of monomacy during the combat with Teddy and Lee and Carter that led to Carter being eaten by Teddy. So we're going to see what's happening to him, because this thing that's going on right now with these ghosts is going to raise a little problem for Nicholas, Miko's character. So that will be next Friday over here, and then after that we'll have another one with Cassie, and finally one with Teddy before we resume our Lights campaign Chronicle in September. So a lot of good vampirage coming up. But right now we are in a tomb, and as the lot of you, and so there's your group, there's Ludovica, there's Chiara, there's her bodyguard Dario, there's also a Samdi there, Nagaraja, and a Lamia called Sylvia in that room. Also, everyone seems very surprised when this man just kind of wanders in and starts vomiting ghosts and spirits. As the bunch of these ghosts start pouring forth, you see these sort of strange shining entities. It is immediately apparent that they are fully formed spirits, and not the kind of spirits that you summon. They seem to be perhaps wraith or something of that nature. They are right away you can tell they're quite powerful spirits, and they seem to be very aggressive right away. So as these beings start pouring forth from this person's mouth, immediately you see everyone kind of move and sort of try to get away from them. They're these kind of dark, shadowy humanoid forms, and as you look at them, the lot of you, the strange thing about them, as you look at them, it's almost as if it's kind of a negative of a ghost, where you would normally have the ghost there and then the world around them. But in this case, it's almost as if the world around is cut up in the shape of a ghost, and what you're seeing through the shape of that ghost is the void of oblivion on the other side, as if each of them is kind of a conduit or a portal to that realm. And right away, for those of you who are more advanced necromancy and whatnot, it's pretty bad. But let's go ahead and roll us an initiative here and sort of see where this takes us.
Remind me in V20 how initiative is that?
Your wits plus your dexterity, and then you add a d10 to that.
Thank you.
If you need, there's on the spreadsheet where your characters are, there's a cheat sheet tab that you can check up.
That's right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
It's a base 6, if I remember correctly, right?
No, you're just the total. So total your wits plus your dexterity.
Oh yeah, right.
And then add a d10 to that.
Okay.
9 for me.
11.
8.
Okay. So as people are reacting to what's happening, I'm not going to focus on what's going on with everybody else. I'll just tell you that people are moving. The other kindred that are there are kind of like, either trying to back away from them or engaging with some of these spirits. You see some of them try to use some of their powers against them. As they do, the one thing you'll notice is that the powers seem to be not ineffective, but somewhat diminished, as if these ghosts or wraiths or whatever they are, you've never quite seen their likeness, appear to be. It's almost as if the powers used against them kind of flow through them and don't affect them that much. And you can see that it has some effect, but not too much. As these kind of ghosts, and there's maybe a dozen of them, are starting to sort of spread out through the room and kind of flying here and there and attacking different people. You see these quite elder vampires kind of reacting to them and not seeming to be able to do too much with them. As this starts to happen, Ludovica will turn to you, Calogero, and say, "You brought us here. You get us out of here. What's the nearest exit? We can't stay here."
It is going to be down this shaft over here. Please come this way and fight your way out if you must. I told you. Survival of the fittest. Vincenzo, this way.
Allegra, at 11. This, as you are turning to kind of follow Calogero and sort of go in the direction that he indicated, you turn around and you come face to face with one of these things, one of these ghosts, one of these spirits or whatever. And as you do, it kind of raises its arms as if to sort of embrace you. What would you say is Allegra's formative memory when it comes to learning about death?
It was when her Nana died, and she went to hug her in her bed and realized that she didn't smell like the cigar smoke that her grandpa used to smoke all the time, and she couldn't smell it in her hair, and it just was like she wasn't there anymore. I think that's when, and Allegra was about 5 or 6.
So as you are embraced by this figure, that scent wafts over you. It fills your nostril. It completely envelops you. And you don't think so much that this creature is that person or connected to that person, but rather you kind of feel like this creature that's now kind of trying to enshroud you. It's kind of like a doorway or a portal, perhaps, to a place where these people would be, this person would be. The smell is coming through them, and it's kind of inviting you to step through them and be enveloped by them and to go through. And maybe if you go through, you'll be able to meet them again. What would you like to do?
Oh man, I really want to go through.
Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. This is...
I think if nobody stops her, she's a curious mind. I think she's gonna try to peek, go through, but kind of have this mental grounding of this is for science. I'm doing this for knowledge, not losing myself to a smell of the past.
Calogero at 9, you see Allegra slowly disappearing as if she's going through some sort of you can see if you imagine that this ghost sort of is two-dimensional, and you can see Allegra kind of going here, and then as she goes through, she doesn't reappear on the other side, and she looks like she's disappearing in this sort of void, this person-shaped void.
I need to get a little bit more information on this. Unfocus my eyes, kick in Auspex. What aura am I looking at as I'm about to take a physical, or right before I take a physical action? I have 2 successes, 1 failure based off of 6.
So what you're getting out of it, there's no aura there at all. So okay. Whatever is there is not a soul. It really appears to be a person or humanoid or soul-shaped hole, leading, as far as you can tell, straight into oblivion.
Take that physical action. summon up that potence, start reaching in and see if I can grab her, if only out of curiosity of what the spirit is going to do.
Give me a strength check and add your potence to the as automatic successes.
You got it. That's going to be 1, 2.
Let me see my nonna.
Let's see here. That is going to be 5 dice. That is 1 crit success, 1 success, 3 failure.
Allegra, you're in your nonna's kitchen. You see her. Her back is to you. You smell that, and then you smell her cooking. She's at the stove. She's got the big pot for the Sunday ragu that's cooking, and she's stirring that up. There's fresh bread, garlic bread that's kind of cooking over on the side. You can see her old cat, Mirador, that's just sort of sitting on the counter with its big orange tail kind of just flapping up and down. You feel the warmth of her place. You know she's about to turn around and sort of do that little, surprise thing. Like she knows you're there, but she always did that whenever you come running up behind her. And when you kind of catch a quick reflection of yourself, you see yourself as a much younger version of you, around the age you were just before she died. And you kind of reach for her to give her that little tug on her dress that you would always give, and you know she's about to reach out, but then you feel this hand grab you in the back of your neck, grab you and start pulling you back out of this, and your nonna's turning, and she's turning towards you. What would you like to do? Do you want to stay here? Do you want to stay with your nonna? Do you want to hang out in the kitchen and see if she made any cannolis for you? Or
oh no, cannolis! They're my favorite. How does the hand, does it feel as real as everything around me?
In some ways it feels almost more real, the same way that, the same way like when you were a kid and you would disobey, maybe, the idea of the punishment was kind of immaterial, but then once you got caught and you actually got punished, like it got really real all of a sudden. So there's kind of that physicality to it that you're like, oh, this is real. Whatever is going on, this hand that's on my neck and pulling me back
Perfect.
is real.
I'm going with that information. I think she's going to grab the hand that's on the back of her neck and like clasp it. But also, I think her inner child, like she starts to like immediately sob as she realizes she's never going to see her nonna turn around. But she knows that can't be real because this is.
Calogero, you yank her out. As she comes out, you get this whiff of wonderful ragu, of wonderful garlic bread cooking. Just the smell of a wonderful Italian nonna's kitchen just wafting over you.
What the hell am I breathing? Damn it, I need to practice more.
So you pull Allegra out of it. Allegra, you get pulled out. Calogero, for a second, when you pull her out, she's a child, but then, as she kind of like pulls out of the envelope, you see her as the full-grown woman that she is, and you kind of fall to the ground at Calogero's feet.
My intention with the potence is use her body like a missile, if at all possible. Get her away. I don't care if it's up against a wall, whatever. I don't know her. I'm much more interested in that thing. I need to know what we're fighting here.
So you pull her out and you chuck her, and you almost kind of like, over your shoulder, like discard her.
This is mine.
You're looking at that. What would you say would be Calogero's formative experience or memory concerning the topic of death?
Oh, the priest that oversaw his familiars. When his mother died, the priest, who then had to die himself, this would have been my first experience with it. And the examination of the body and seeing exactly why the heart pumps the way it does when you squeeze it and where the blood goes. This was my transformative moment.
You look through the hole, this person-shaped hole in front of you, and for a moment you see only void, only darkness. Then you hear a woman's voice, and it sounds as if she's confessing something, and then you see inside the church, you see the confessional, you see a pair of feet of someone who is kneeling in the confessional, and their feet are sticking out. And you recognize your mother's shoes, and you can tell through the grill that the priest that's inside the confessional is that priest himself, and you can hear her confessing all the horrific things that you have done in your life and unlife, and she's asking God for forgiveness for having birthed such a terrible, vile, repulsive murderer, creature of darkness, a thing that lives off of the blood and flesh of others.
Mia madre, no! I start getting absorbed into it and like almost starting to reach out for that quick connection he hasn't had in ever. And do I feel myself being pulled into it? Is there anything?
You are about halfway through. You are partly in the church. You hear your mother's voice very distinctly now. You hear the disappointment in her voice, and you hear how really intent she is on getting absolution for your crimes, for your sins. And you hear the father say there may be ways to atone for the sins of others, even sins so grievous. And you can see that he's opening the door of the confessional.
No! I've seen this before. Start fighting back. Do I see Kiera anywhere in this?
Well, hold on to your underwear for a second. At 8, Vincent, you have seen this. You have seen Allegra sort of almost get absorbed by this thing. Calogero pulling her out of there, and then looking at him himself and suddenly starting to speak in Italian, addressing his mother and starting to be absorbed too. And he's almost fully absorbed into this void that's in front of him. You see that Ludovica is kind of pulling Luca, and they're kind of heading the direction that Calogero had suggested. And behind you, Dario is kind of covering Chiara, but she seems to be attempting to fight or destroy some of these things. What would Vincent like to do?
Well, is Allegra like right there?
She's kind of tumbled. He threw her, and like she kind of rolled and tumbled, and she's kind of on the ground in front of you, and you can see she's a bit dazed, and she says something about her nana, but she's kind of sort of coming through.
Cannoli.
I think in that moment, Vincent just says, well, one less fucking nightmare. And he kind of like almost, I don't want to say spears, but like immediately throws Allegra almost into a fireman's carry because he didn't want to take the time to actually try and like bring her out of it. And he ramps up his potence and just starts barreling after Ludovica. Because like he's like, okay, I'm leaving with the party I came with. Old man Frankenstein can fucking have his wonderful dreams. Okay, like every time a wraith appears, a fucking demon gets his wings. Have your time. All right, we're going.
You grab Allegra, start rushing forward. Allegra, back to the top to you. Vincent has grabbed you in with his potence, like just sort of fireman carried you, and you're sort of coming to now. You realize what you saw was not real, but it felt kind of real. And I will say that you don't get the sense that you were necessarily in danger or that it was some sort of illusion. It felt like a promise.
Oof. I don't think I'm gonna resist, because I don't think that Allegra's like focused on what's happening in real life now. But I think I would like to, while I am on his shoulder, I think I want to take the time summoning the soul of my Nana to see if it's the same one that I felt.
Go ahead and make the roll at Perception and Occult, target of 7.
Perception.
Because it's your Nana, I shall give you a target of 6.
Oh, thank you. 5 dice, which is 5, and roll. Oh shit! 3 successes.
You, when reaching out for your Nana, what would you be remembering? What would you be kind of focusing on most to kind of try and reach her? Oh,
definitely. Hanging on to that scent, because that is like one of the things that I remember the strongest of the cigar smoke. But also the kind of like when I tugged on her dress, the like feigned shriek in surprise is like, oh, I got you. So it'd be like very sensory, like my eyes would be squeezed shut trying to hear and smell.
So you reach out, your memory clinging to those images, that scent memory, and reaching out to her. And you've never had difficulty checking in on her before and reaching out to her. And you reach out through the veil and you realize it's a lot easier than it normally would be. And you find absolutely nothing.
Oh, like nothing is in there. The connection is severed, or nothing is in like she's not in that room.
She is not there at all.
Okay. I'm going to kind of like knock on Vincent's back and say, "Get me down. I can handle this. Get me down." And if he does, like, if you let me down, I think I'm gonna like.
We'll see in a minute when we get to his turn. Cool. Kalajiro, you look around. You can kind of see behind you, somewhat see into the room that you were just in. You can see that Kiara and the others are fighting or trying to get away still. What would you like to do?
If I can withdraw myself from this shade, this specter, this thing.
I will ask you to give me a roll, but I will ask you to do it with your. Give me 1 second. So you could spend willpower on this, by the way, if ever you felt like it. Like this kind of thing you can spend willpower on. But I would say to give me a roll with your occult and your wits.
That is going to be 4 dice and 6 is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. That is going to be 3 successes and 1 crit fail.
Excellent. 1 crit fail?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a couple of successes. So what you realize when you do this is, again, you realize that this is some sort of memory, some sort of, that is being drawn from you. And you realize that in some ways, where this portal is taking you is not to oblivion or to some place, but rather it seems to be taking you inside of you, like internally, like to where your memories and where, all these things are. When you see that, you kind of get a handle on how to get out of it, which is to kind of shut everything out the way you would do if you were trying to, SRH Guild or whatever, something, just kind of clear out your emotions, clear out your thoughts. And when you do that, you find that more than strength is good enough to kind of pull you out of it. And you find yourself standing next to this figure, this hole, this void. On the other side, you still hear your mother's voice, the priest's voice. You know what's about to happen. You hear the door of the confessional open. You hear his footsteps. You hear the curtain to her side of the confessional being slid to the side. But you are now in the room here fully. You see that Vincent's got Allegra on his shoulder and everyone's kind of booking it down through the tunnel. Kiara and some of the others are still trying to hold off some of these things.
Is anybody fighting the old man?
Fighting the old man. Which old man would that be?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood perhaps. There was a figure that came in, he seemed lost, and then he opened.
Oh, yeah, no, so he's gone. He's gone. Like, he's totally
gone.
Desiccated. He's like a husk on the ground.
Thank you.
Now.
Yes, I apologize. Yeah, you did say that.
No
okay. Head on over to, ignore those idiots, head on over towards Kiera. And see if I can quickly assess the situation, lending assistance however I may.
Yeah.
Full intention is to eradicate whatever the fuck is there.
Okay, so look, we're gonna make this kind of simple. As you're gonna approach and want to kind of throw in to help her out, I'll have you make an intelligence and occult roll with a target of 8, and tell me what you get.
Sure. That is going to be 5 dice. That is 2 crit successes and 3 failures.
All right. So
2 10s and 2 7 7.
So you kind of you get in there. You can tell what she's trying to do. You try to kind of reach in, you know, with your knowledge, necromancy, stuff like that, to try and kind of help out. You realize right away that you're overmatched. Not only are you overmatched, she seems to be barely able to sort of help herself also. And what you realize in that moment is that the best help you could lend would be to try and convince her to turn tail and run. That there's really almost nothing you can do because there's nothing to target. These things are not beings that you can target and fight. They seem to be, as I said, drawn directly from whoever they are closest to.
Okay. In which case, put a hand on her shoulder. Nonna, come now. We must go.
Sorry. Go ahead and give me a manipulation and we'll call it leadership.
That's going to be 7 dice. Against what target?
You're going to go with I'm going to say a 6 is fine, yeah.
A 6? Okay, that is going to be 4 successes, 3 failures.
Excellent. So you see her for a moment. She doesn't even realize you're there. She's still like kind of intent on fighting it. And then you see like kind of a moment of, holy fuck, what is this? And then she hears you and she looks over.
No, come.
She looks at Dario and Dario nods to her and he kind of steps in front of her in front of the shade and the shade starts to absorb him.
I kick him in and grab her.
Nice. So you kick him in, you grab her, you start hauling ass on the other side, hauling her behind you. Vincent, you've got Allegra on your shoulder. Allegra has told you, let me down. I think I know what to do. What would you like to do?
I mean, I drop her. I'm not gonna fight against that. And I, like, at this point, it's very much, he's just like, they was, you know, very much a whole, like, if they want to die, they want to die. Let them. And I'm going to go try and catch up with Ludovica.
You run up, you follow Ludovica and the others. Ludovica looks over her shoulder, you know, she tells you, come on. A lot of you are running down that corridor. You emerge in a room that has another exit on the other side, but at the center of this room, when you kind of emerge into it, it's kind of almost like semicircular, almost like if you were to take a globe and cut it in half, so it's like this kind of half globe room. The only thing that's in it, and again, it is carved directly out of the stone of the place, as if they carved the room around it. And again, you have the bones, the skulls and everything kind of, encrusted in this stone and in the earth around it, is what appears to be like some sort of sarcophagus or coffin, like straight out, carved right out of this. And the only thing on it is a symbol of a cross and something that, as you know, probably someone raised as a good Christian, you recognize as the symbol of the Archangel Michael. And as you approach this tomb and you step into this room, you see that a couple of these voids that were following you kind of arrive and hesitate and stop and do not enter the room. And you find yourself with Ludovica and Luca in this room. You can see through the ghosts that are in the doorway a couple other people kind of running up. But right now you're alone in the room and these things kind of stop and are piling up at the door, but they don't seem to be able to get through into this room. I guess he really was a saint, Luca says as he's like leaning against the tomb.
What, did she go to catechism? Yeah, of course he was.
I don't know. Most of these stories are so wild that I don't know which one to believe and which one to disbelieve anymore. What the hell is going on in there? Any clue? Because like, I don't know. This is like nothing I've ever seen before. And she's kind of looking to see if anyone's coming up the tunnel.
This doesn't make sense.
So you're not there. He dropped you.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So we'll get to you in a moment. Vincent, as you are in the room and kind of taking a moment and sort of trying to figure out what's happened, you glance over your shoulder and down that other corridor that I said was there.
Yeah.
You see a very familiar figure hovering there. You see a woman with long black hair dressed in a white shift. The last time you saw Sarah, it was in a mirror She's standing there at the other side, looking almost tangible, leaning against the side of the tunnel.
I think, like, instinctively, Vincent would walk over and, like, knowing that he's, like, has a degree of safety where he's at, I think he would try and get close enough and just... How are you...
Baby, why can't I touch you? And you can see that she's, like, unable to press through where the doorway is. Baby, I can't touch you.
I'm on consecrated ground or something. I'm in a shrine to Saint Michael. What are you doing here? How are you? Why?
The door was open. The door was open. Everyone was walking through. I followed them. I walked through and I found myself here.
What is happening? What are the others saying?
They say that something happened. A doorway's opened. That something happened here that caused a rift in the veil. They're pulling through. There's a figure, a strange man, calling himself Penumbra. He's like a devil with horns and a red cloak, and he's telling the others that this is their opportunity to reclaim their lives, to reclaim what they've lost, and he's urging them through. I didn't follow him. I followed some of the others, but why can't and you can see that there are footprints behind her leading up to where she is.
Baby, you have to go back. What's happening here? I can't guarantee in any way that you'll survive it, and you have to go back the way you came. You can't be here.
I don't want to. It's so cold and so dark there. I just want to be with you, darling. And she's pushing and trying to. You see her hands start coming through.
I think he instinctively tries to reach out to it.
When you reach out to her, your fingers interlace with her and you feel physically that she's there. Her skin feels cool and clammy a little bit, but there's a physicality there. And the second you grab her and feel her hand clench around yours, she stumbles forward and puts her arms around you. And you can feel her wrapped around you, giving you a hug, and she starts to sob and cry. Am I really back? Am I really back?
No, you're not.
Meanwhile, back in the main room, you've been dumped unceremoniously on your tuchus, Allegra.
Twice.
And Vincent has just ditched down that tunnel. You see a bunch of these weird creatures kind of filtering in. You see Kalajiro and Kiara start heading towards that tunnel. What do you do?
Are they in front of me? Am I the last one?
I would say they're kind of like about the same. They're kind of vectoring in like towards the door.
I'll go towards the tunnel too. Where are there any like imminent threats around me?
Yeah, you can clearly see that there are these things kind of approaching you. They just kind of seem to be drifting almost mindlessly, but like they'll see someone and they'll kind of beam, like oof, and then kind of head towards them.
Do they head towards us when we look at them, like perceive them, or do they head towards us when they perceive us?
I'm not 100% sure. I get what you said, but like they seem to notice you and then head towards you. Okay.
I'm gonna, like, as I start to make my way towards, like, down the tunnel, I'm gonna whip around and I don't know if it's gonna work, use command and say, enough, at whatever one is headed towards me.
All right, go ahead and give me a command. I do believe is a manipulation. Is there in a road? Yeah, manipulation plus intimidation.
Ew. Do I have any? Oh, I do.
I'm going to give you a target of 6 on that one.
Okay. We'll see how I do here. 2 successes.
Okay, this thing is kind of coming towards it. What was the command that you gave it, sorry?
Enough.
And it stops, and it just kind of hovers there.
There is a time and place for you, and it is not here, and not now.
It seems to be holding there, not moving. What would you like to do?
Does it have any qualities at this point that allude to it being like more living than just like a void of a...
No.
Okay.
No. It does seem to have will in some way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm going to step closer to it, but not in it. But to kind of show that, like, I'm not here to hurt it.
As you step closer to it, that same smell wafts over you again, inviting you to step closer. The smells of your nana, the food, the smoke, the bread cooking. You can almost see her in the kitchen again. You realize that you've taken 2 more steps than you wanted to take. You're seeing it now, your nana, in her kitchen just through this doorway. All you have to do is walk through this doorway, and you'll be in her kitchen once more. And she'll turn around and be surprised to see you, and then give you a great big hug and probably pull one of those sticky candies that she keeps wrapped in wax paper in the pocket of her apron.
Nana died when I was 5, and I'm going to take a step back.
You take a step back, it doesn't move.
That is where she belongs. That is where you belong. I want to take another step back.
Take another step back, you find it easier and easier.
Maybe there's a place for you later, but not now. We're not ready for you yet. Go back.
The scent fades, the image flickers, and then the thing starts to move again, and it starts to move towards you.
I'm going to take another step, and I'm going to say it like firmer. You need to go back now.
It keeps moving closer, and as it gets closer, the smell again wafts over you. You start seeing the outline of your nana.
I think she's going to... She's not a very powerful vampire at all. I think she is going to kind of like back up at a quick pace and then turn around and try to run towards where the others are.
Kalajiro, you've got Kiara by the hand. You're running down this corridor. You can see that on the other side, in the room where the first pope is supposedly interred, you can see Ludovica, Luca, and Vincent. You can see that Vincent is on the other side looking down the tunnel. And you can see a bunch of these weird sort of voids and shapes, these ghosts, stacked in front of that door.
I slit my wrist and spray blood in that area just in a hope that I can use ashes to ashes. If there's any corporeal part of them, I'm going to turn them into the ash.
Catch me up on what ashes to ashes does.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a blood point and drip the vitae down onto a corpse. At which point, then, I make an intelligence and medicine check, and then it disintegrates in a number of turns equal to 5 minus the number of successes rolled.
Okay, so this is what happens. You do that. You cut yourself, you spray the blood. As you do, almost like bloodhounds smelling the scent they were after, all these shapes, these voids in front of this that were stacking up over his door, all kind of turn as one and kind of dive towards it. You see you have an opening to kind of get over them and get through and into the other room if you want. They seem to like be completely drawn to the smell of the blood.
Race ahead of Nona, grab her wrist and potent slingshot her beyond me, and then I'll continue chasing after her.
You jump over these things, find yourself in this room, and these things are starting to kind of like look up from the blood and kind of gather again. And as you get into the room and kind of take pace, you see Vincent on the other side holding on to a woman, or at least I don't know if Vincent has put her arms around her, but she's holding on to him. This woman with long, straight black hair, wearing this white shift, is hugging Vincent.
Does she have the same properties as the spirits that I've been seeing?
I don't know. Would you like to do
the same visual proproperties?
No, she looks like a person.
She does look like a person.
Sono spettri, Vincenzo, yeah, get out!
Vincenzo, you hear this behind you as Sarah is hugging you. You hear this screaming at you. What would you like to do?
I think he pulls back just enough to see her face. And he just stares for a moment.
She looks exactly the way she looked the last time you saw her when she was alive.
You're not supposed to be here. You went to the after, and that's where you belong.
I was given a second chance. You feel her breath wafting over you on your skin. We have a second chance, Vincent.
No, we don't. This is not how it should be. You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in what comes next.
But what if I am here?
You don't belong, and you won't last forever.
Outside, Allegra, you're running towards them. You see them in this room. You see a pile of these weird void creatures on the ground. They're starting to pick themselves up. You're gonna have to give your best shot to try and circumvent them to go through to the other side. So I'm gonna ask you to give me a dexterity and athletic roll, and I can see by looking at your character sheet that that's gonna suck. Remember, you have a night move, right? Which allows you to buy an automatic success if you want. Thanks to Creature. Thank you, Creature, for the night moves.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna do the night move for that because I have 0 athletics.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm using the night move.
You're using the night move. All right, excellent. Yeah. You spend your night move. You call upon every resources, and all you have is an undead creature of the night to kind of pivot away from them and kind of like push yourself off the wall and tumble into the room. As you do, you see Vincent holding on to this woman having this discussion. You see that the creatures around the other side start piling up against the door again. You see that on the other side of where Vincent is with this woman, there's another group of them that is piling on, and they're kind of like piling on top of each other and piling on top of each other. As the blood that has been dripping out of Kolajiro's arm hits the ground in here, you can see and feel movement. You see the bones. All three of you see the bones that are encrusted in the stone and start to move. You see fingers move. You see arms start to dislodge themselves from the stone. You see a jaw from a skull start to move. You see dead empty eyes as the head turns, looking in your direction. You see the bones start to extricate themselves from the stone start pouring themselves out of it, breaking it. You are surrounded by all these bones, these skeleton arms, these legs, these faces sort of emerging from the ground. A moment later, you feel a breeze on your skin. You find yourselves in what can best be described as a forest made of bones. There are trees around you made entirely of tiny little bones, bits of skulls, bits of fingers. The world seems to be almost a negative. It's in black and white. The bones are black where you would expect them to be white. The skulls are these black bone structures gazing at you. The ground has this weird sort of quality that looks almost kind of like it would be grass or plants or little trees growing, but you can see when you approach that they look like little souls trapped and sort of just waving in the wind. The stench of death is everywhere. Those of you who have practiced necromancy for a very, very long time know the smell of this place, know the feel of it. And you know you're in the land of the dead. Vincent, Sarah is in your arms, trembling.
Where are we?
It has many names. The After. Purgatory? I don't know. Where we go when we die?
We can't be here.
Well, you heard Mikey. The veil's very thin.
You see Kiara, who was kneeling on the ground, has been drawing necromantic symbols on the floor, and you can see them sort of diffuse and disappear. And she drops down, looking spent. And she looks over her shoulder at all of you and she goes, "Someone find the orchard keeper. He should be nearby."
Who is that? Who is the orchard keeper?
Anyone wants can give me an occult roll and let's say intelligence plus occult, and let's see what you know about it.
Difficulty?
I'm going to say a 7 on this one. It's not super well known knowledge.
2 successes.
And 4 failures and a crit failure.
You've got legs.
You are too preoccupied with Kiara and her seeming weakness right now as you reach out to help her. Vincent, in the scroll that you read from the Book of Lilith, you remember a passage, a place called the Bone Orchard, which was a long time ago a place where those who had the ability to control and speak to spirits, the place where they would send the ones they wanted to punish for disobeying them. They would send them here to become trees for a few eternities if need be, leaving them with their ability to perceive time, their ability to know themselves as a living, once living cognitive person, but forever locked into the shape of a bone tree. There's a place of punishment within a place of punishment.
This is where the ones that we want to hurt even after death reside.
So...
This place, it is not for our bodies, but our souls, then. Yes.
That's the best way you can put it, yeah.
Giovanni and Ivacarano, they summoned this. I warned you that they only knew the violence. Now, we must find our way out.
We have no way of knowing that this was the Giovannis that did this.
Giovanni are specialists in the summoning of these things, but we have always felt that the old man himself would be able to do something like this. But never did we expect that he would come to the reunion himself. Attacks, yes, they were made. But enough talk of this. If we are going to continue existence, it cannot be here.
This happened because you decided to off Uncle Augie.
No, this happened because we are fighting to survive. The Giovanni are going to break the peace with the Camarilla. They will have nothing left. Clan Giovanni under the Augustus is already dead. Already dead. There are others, including people like you, like the Giovanni, who are now coming together to be able to exist, continue. Look, feel here. Huh? Everything that we experienced so far, it comes from the heart. Do not allow yourself to be consumed by anger. You will only summon them. We need a way out.
The way out is with the Orchard Keeper.
Very well. Where is this Orchard Keeper? Begin looking around. Do I see anything here that may look like that?
Ask the bones.
The bones. Reach down. This one will suffice. I now examine it.
Occult and intelligence, please.
Just intelligence?
Intelligence plus occult.
Got it. I should have taken occult.
Giovanni without occult?
I know. I put it in another shit.
He's got mathematics like 10.
You put it in drive.
Let me tell you about the geometry. This I have.
Lamborghini.
Is that going to be a 6?
Yeah.
Okay. 4 failures, 1 success.
4 failures, 1 success. You pick it up and you can hear whispers. It's trying to talk to you, but you realize you don't have any way of understanding really what it's saying.
My specialty lies with the dead. This is not the dead. This thing is not there. It is not of the bodies. I try another one.
Anybody can try, by the way, if you want.
Oh, yeah. No. This is... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my night move to get an automatic success on
shit.
this.
I forgot about those.
To 100% show up Carlito here about freaking Giovanni only using their powers for muscle.
Yeah, dude. You're going to be sucking in all the bones.
You just look at him sideways, pick a skull and go, yeah. And the skull whispers, who do you wish to talk to? I cannot hear you. You'll have to speak up, young man.
I was whispering in your ear. I thought you might have heard it.
I don't have ears. I'm a skull.
Very well. Send me the Orchard Keeper.
Oh, very demanding are you? You show up here out of nowhere and I'm demanding to see the Orchard Keeper. Who are you that I should tell the Orchard Keeper to come and see you?
The one who will send you to oblivion should you refuse.
Oh, my child, I've already been there.
He crushes the skull and grabs another one.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell this. Yeah, no problem. I just called him. He's coming.
Fucking Canadian skull.
He's coming. He's on his way. Don't crush me, please. I'm fragile. I was a baker.
It was a baker.
We'll get you a triple and some Timbits. Don't worry. Let's go.
He made cannolis.
What in the blue hell?
So which way do we go now?
You hear whistling coming, emanating, caroming through the trees, bouncing off the skulls, and very soon you see an old man wearing a fedora with a long beard approach, whistling. He's got a walking stick.
Milady? What's happening here?
He comes in and goes, well, it's been a while since I've seen the likes of you here. Come to take a look upon your victims, have you?
What the fuck? What?
We
Are you
seek
the
the exit from this place.
Go back the way you came.
We were sent here.
You want the big door?
Yes,
I'll show you the big door. Come along.
Which future does the big door lead to?
I'm not the doorkeeper, I'm the orchard keeper. You're gonna have to go through that door and find out yourself, I'm afraid.
Where's Ludovica right now?
Ludovica is there. She was helping Kiara kind of stand up, and she comes over at that point. She goes, who's this clown?
This is the orchard keeper.
Oh. Very sorry to disturb you, sir. I'm assuming they've told you that we're looking for a way out of here. Yes, I told them I'd leave them to the door, but they have all sorts of questions. They're like, show us the way out. I'm like, I'll show you the way out. And then their questions start, and, well, we haven't gone on our way yet, but I'll show you to the door. I'm here to serve. She's like, all right, well, let's follow
at him saying, I'm here to serve, literally, like, there's a change in expression on Vincent's face as he looks, and he tries to remember the face of the groundskeeper for the family cemetery in New York.
Well, have yourself a night move, Vincent. Have yourself a night move, my friend, for recalling the darkest, most obscure bit of trivia that I put in here for my own enjoyment.
Incredible.
And that into the light. So have yourself a night move, Kurt.
It feels so good.
You clearly see the resemblance. Although this guy looks like he still has his flesh and his beard kind of more intact than the other one did, but it's exactly the same guy.
Like he's straight up, just and I think that at that point he utters the name Theo. He does utter Theo?
Ah, yes. Giancarlo.
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo, yes, Vincenzo from Detroit.
From New York.
Oh, New York, that's right. Yes, that's right. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. How are you doing, son?
We're trying to get out of here. What are you doing? You're just a groundskeeper for the family plot.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Just keeping the grounds. Well, this is an orchard. They call me the orchard keeper here, but yeah, that's what I do.
You walk between worlds?
Oh, when you've been around so long as I have, you don't really remember everywhere you've been. Like I see some of these people now, they like count their steps or whatever. They got like these things on their arm and they're like, oh, I did 1,000 steps, whatever. I'm like, man, if I had one of those, that thing would be fucking melting right off my arm.
Can you get us out of here?
Yeah, sure. Just follow me. I have a question for Calogero. Have you ever, and this is the GM asking this, has Calogero ever committed diablerie?
Oddly, I don't believe so.
Okay. I don't think any of yours are here. None of you have ever committed the ultimate sin, I think. Which is good, because they're angry right now.
This way, then.
Yeah, but come along.
I think Vincent collects Ludovica and company, and I think he very much he doesn't know what to do with Sarah.
Sarah's just kind of by you. She keeps trying to hold your hand. I don't know if you let her, but
he's moved on, and so this is an odd feeling for him. So he's unsure how to process it. It's not that he's intentionally ignoring her. It's more that he's just focused on getting out of here.
she just kind of trails behind you as you all start moving. You'll walk for a little while, and eventually you see, I don't know if you've ever seen clear cutting in real life. What that, this is what it starts to look like. The trees eventually thin out really quickly, and eventually you come upon this slope down this valley, and all of the trees are gone. Like, it's as if they've been uprooted or clear cutted or kind of ripped out. But you could see that this orchard used to continue for miles and miles, but there's a whole bunch of trees. And as you approach that line, you see some of these trees move, twist, the bones start to fall down. You hear cackling, and you see spirits rush out of these trees free and start to head out into the towards the horizon. And when you look towards the horizon, you see this maelstrom of light and souls and spirits. You hear the shrieks of the damned and of the dead, and this maelstrom is just ripping apart the horizon. It's literally like someone has reached out, like the horizon is a piece of paper, a painting, and someone has ripped it apart. And you can see this maelstrom inside of it swirling, and you can see ghosts and spirits from everywhere converging towards it. The trees around you are breaking apart. The souls are leaving. And the old man says, I wouldn't want to be someone who put one of these souls here. I mean, imagine that. You kill another vampire, you suck their souls into your body, and you think that they're inside of you and they're gone forever. But no, there's a little part of them that lives out here, and they're going to be pretty pissed off.
You know, if we were in New York, I'd know who we'd call for this, but I'm a little bit at a loss.
That was...
He means diablerie, Vincent, says Ludovica. Whenever diablerie is committed, part of the soul that is diablerized comes here.
No, I get it. He leans over and he tries to whisper in Theo's ear if Theo will let him.
Yeah.
If we make it out of this, I need you to tell me that you'll get someone out of here should they appear here. And I'll owe you one.
Right. Well, you know what you could do? Could you, next time you're in the other world, could you come and visit me? And what I'd really, really like is if you could give me some in and out. Like, just go and get some in and out and like fly it over and bring it to me.
Anything for you.
That shit's good. I remember when I was in San Francisco when I was posted there. Yeah, that was great. There was an in and out not too far, like out in Radford, and that was.
I will have in and out brought to you weekly, Theo.
What the hell is this that you're talking about?
And he leans and he literally leans in and he says, there is a soul who has committed the ultimate sin, who may end up in your orchard.
Do you have more details? Because there's a lot of you that do that, and it gets a little overwhelming at times.
And he says, She's rough around the edges and a bit of a wild one. You'll know her when you see her, should she appear. Just let her go.
Well, we'll see what I can do. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. See what I can do. I got you. In and out. Right, deal.
You want the double burgers or just the
Animal
extra
style.
fries?
Animal style.
Done.
Style. You keep walking out. You're walking towards this rip and rent and tear in the sky. As you approach the edge of what would have been the bone orchard, you see a figure sitting there on the stump, a stump made of bones and skulls, and he's just sitting there, and as you approach, he removes his cloak and looks up, and Kiara says, "Lazarus, it's been a long time." He says, "It's quite the family reunion we're having here." As he stands up and walks towards you. Ludovica staring at him. "Is that really you?" He's like, "I believe so. I see you've brought many of my children and grandchildren here." That's good. Kalajiro, you and yours have created quite a shitstorm.
Unity is going to happen one way or another in the mortal realms.
Killing Augustus Giovanni was not wise.
No. But when does wisdom always prevail in times of conflict?
You can feel Vincent staring at the back of your head right now.
Do you know how much work we're going to have in front of us now? Do you think we are going to be able to do what we set out to do, forward our agenda, now that we're going to have to try to find all these genies you've poured out of the bottle to try to put them back in the bottle?
I understand the concept of herding the cats. However, what we seek to do are going to be much greater in number. Vincenzo, you mock me with your face before when I cannot speak to the bone. And the Giovanni specialize in the communication with the spirits. We, the Cappadocians, we deal in matters of death. The Lamia and others, we all have our own ways of speaking to the spirits, whether they are on the right or the left. This is the time for unity. We will no longer call ourselves Cappadocian or Giovanni or anything else. Names have gone around. But these are the nights, the final nights of change. We have to evolve to something else, and evolution is never an easy prospect. Lazarus, it is not easy, but it was the best thing for all of us.
Time will tell. Kalajiro, time will tell, as it always does. And for now, you're right. As we head on into this new night, we need a new identity, and as there were 3 before, so there will be 3 again. I believe Hecata will be a suitable moniker.
We are looking at myth here. We are creatures bound by it. Aketa. I like this name for all of us. No more Giovanni. No more Cappadocius. No more Lamia. No more 70. We are now Aketa. I like this.
What you're not gonna like is my disposition towards you if you don't clean up this mess that you've created. I suggest we head back so that you can start fixing what you broke so that we may put our plans into action and achieve our goals. I'm holding you responsible, you and your brethren, Kalajiro.
I accept that responsibility, and I will do it.
And Lazarus looks at the rest of you and goes, my children, now's the time for you to meet the others of your family, to find a renewed sense of purpose and pride in your blood. 3 meetings there have been. 3 meetings I have survived. And so now, we will forge a new night for those of us who know the secrets of the dead. He looks at you, Vincent. You should say goodbye. And he turns and he starts to walk. Chiara, Ludovica follow. Luca follows. Sarah grabs your hand. Theo looks at you and says, you know, you could stay here if you want. I have a feeling it's going to be a real shitstorm out there. You know, you could take your lady here and I'll show you a nice little spot. You can go and build yourself a quiet little place to stay and, well, I have a feeling if you stay out of this, maybe they'll let you stay out of it for a while. She looks at you and goes, we could stay here together. We could have another chance, Vincent. I've prayed for this so much. Every day since I've gone. To be away from you is to be away from the sun.
It's rather ironic that you put it that way. Because the sun is the very thing that would kill me.
Not here. And as you look, you can see off the horizon a semblance of sun, cold and pale, but a sun nonetheless is rising, spreading light across the land. A land filled with shadow and bone and death, but no less beautiful and no less bathed in the wan white light of this pale sun.
You died. I killed you.
I forgive you.
I've said goodbye to you.
I forgive you, Vincent. I forgive you.
Shh. Quiet. I forgive you. Doesn't matter. You have died once, and I have said goodbye. And I have already said goodbye twice. And this is my 3rd time saying goodbye. And he leans in and he kisses her. Goodbye, Cassie. And he turns and he leaves.
My name is Sarah.
He doesn't even respond. He just
My
walks.
name is Sarah. You will rue this day, Vincent Giovanni. You will remember the day that you spurned me. I am free. I am free. And my vengeance has long simmered.
And I, doll, am not Giovanni. I'm Hecate.
I look over at Vincent. Coming up behind her, I have a hand out. looking at Vincent for permission.
Let it be. She's in hell.
Very well. Walk out.
The last thing you hear as the lot of you step through towards the opening that Lazarus has created is, "Until death do us part, Vincent. Until death do us part." And on that note, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay, Vincent!